up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA Show, part of the All-City Podcast Network, a special edition of the show presented by DraftKings, where we look at the odds of the playoff series in the Western Conference and tell you what bets we would go with here. We're going to start with the Dallas Mavericks and the Los Angeles Clippers, one of the best matchups in all of the playoffs legs. And this is one that opened with the Clippers as favorites, but very quickly a lot of money came in on the Mavericks. It currently sits at the Mavericks as the favorite, minus 125, ever so slight. That's about as small of a favorite as you can be. And the Clippers as underdogs at plus 105. Do you agree with this, that the Mavericks should be favored coming into the series?
I do. And look, a lot of it has to do with the way these teams have played over the last couple of months. I mean, Clippers have been 500 team for 2 months. That's not a small sample size. And Kawhi Leonard with the dealing with the knee inflammation, and we're all kind of sitting back waiting to see what he's going to look like. Can he play and keep the inflammation out of the knee once he does start to play? Because look, you can get to a point where that's gone and you feel great. But if something going on in there that you haven't had, surgically corrected or whatever he may need, it's going to come back. And so it's not, will he be there? He'll be there, I think, the first game. What happens to him after? And the way they've played over the last couple of months, there's not a team that's in great rhythm right now coming in. And I couldn't say the exact opposite about the Dallas Mavericks. They're in great rhythm. Luka and Kyrie are playing incredibly well together. Their role players have really fit. They've added pieces that I love with this team. And then at the end of the day, I think they've got an absolute stone cold killer in these type of situations that it's going to require, and that's Luka Doncic. And I think he's going to separate the two teams. So I am surprised that the Clippers were an initial favorite, and I'm surprised for as many people that might pick the Clippers to win this series based on just what's going on with these two teams right now and who is at the top of the food chain for both teams.
So much of it comes down to Kawhi Leonard and his status, just how healthy he is and how much of an impact he can make on this one. It sounds to me, I was going to ask you this question, but I guess I'm going to imply your answer. It sounds to me like you would be surprised if the Clippers won the series, because even DraftKings has the odds at it's like 52-48 with these odds. But would you be surprised if the Clippers won?
I would be surprised, mildly, not shocked. Certainly. I mean, it's the Clippers, and they got Kawhi, Paul George, Harden, and Russell Westbrook, and some nice role players. I mean, they got a really good roster. And at one point, when they got rolling shortly after the All-Star break, it looked like that was probably the best team to have a shot at the Nuggets at one point. But I kept watching them and it's like, man, guys in and out of the lineup, just inconsistency. Yeah. The questions around Kawhi, and I just say no. Dallas, they haven't really had too many speed bumps they've run into here over the last 20 games. They are cooking right now, and this is the best all-around team Luka Doncic has had going into the postseason, and he's already been to a conference final. So my money's on Luka and the Mavs, and I would be a little bit surprised if the Clippers win this series.
More likely to go 4 or 5 games or 6 or 7 games, Legs?
6 or 7, yeah. I mean, there's too much talent on the Clippers to think, you can predict a 5-gamer. I mean, that almost implies they don't have a shot in the series. I don't feel that way. 6 or 7. And here's what's interesting. To get to 7, that means you're going on the road in a game 7, right? And Luka's done it before. So normally I think, wow, if I think it's really, really close, I'm going to lean toward who's got the home court in game 7. I don't think it matters in this case. I think if I think the Mavericks are a better team, are going to win the series, and it gets to a 7th game, I'm going to still be riding with the fact that they're going to win that game.
I'm rooting for a 7-game series because you have been on this, that Luka could win, and not only could, but would win a game 7 in the series. So I'm rooting for it because that would be high drama. And for you personally, it would be great. All right, Timberwolves and Suns, another game that's close to a coin flip. But in this one, the underdog Suns, the 6-seeded Phoenix Suns, are the favorites, minus 130 on DraftKings. The Timberwolves, the higher seed, who is the number 1 seed for most of the year, they're underdogs at plus 110. So this is very close to 50-50. But DraftKings at least sees the Suns as the favorite. Do you agree?
This is the one that, of all the series, this is the one where I'm asking you now, can I just step aside and bring in a guest to predict this prediction? Because I think this is hard. I think this is really, really hard. At the end of the day, I think the question is what wins out, because the Suns have been better offensively. They have been better, and they can really be tough to deal with offensively. What wins out? the Timberwolves defense and size or the Suns offense. And at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna go with the Timberwolves. I'm gonna go with Minnesota, getting Karl Anthony Towns back the way they've defended all year. Now, I have one question about them, and we'll see how many times it surfaces in this series. Late game offense. That's my question about the Timberwolves. Quality of shots, who's going to take them? Are they going to be patient in those situations? Is it going to be all Anthony Edwards? Like, how are they going to operate late game situations? For Phoenix, you got two guys, really three if you count Beal, but I'm just talking about Durant and Durant and Booker. Those two guys are just absolutely lethal. Like at a certain time when you have to get something good. I don't have as much faith in Minnesota getting those shots, but look, their defense might be so good it might not matter. At the end of the day, I'm going to lean toward their defense in I think a really, really tough series.
Do you think that this series is either Phoenix in 6 or Wolves in 7? Would you say that?
Yeah. No.
It's always tough when it's this close. Like saying the Wolves will win in 6 on the road. That's tough.
Here's why I wouldn't say that. Game 7 in Minnesota, that's a lot of pressure, man, on that team. Yeah. That group on Anthony Edwards. They got Kevin Durant on the other side. He's seen it all. He has seen it all, man. And he's been big in a lot of big spots in his career in the playoffs. He's not going to be phased. No. So I think that, I guess what you just asked really is, can the Suns win a game 7 on the road? I think they could. But I think more likely Minnesota takes care of business in 6.
Okay, there you go. Now we have Nuggets and Lakers legs. This one is a rematch, obviously, of last year. DraftKings sees Denver as a heavy favorite. In fact, the heaviest of favorites in the first round, -310 outside of Boston, of course. -310 to win. The Lakers are +250 underdogs. Do you agree with those odds?
Yeah, I think so, man. They're heavy prohibitive favorites for a reason. Lakers, they've got the ability, I think, to challenge them, and there's no reason to think that the Lakers can't make this a very competitive series. You could play a 5-game series and be competitive. And I think there's a chance it gets to that. 6, I'd be mildly surprised, not completely shocked, stunned if this went 7 games. So that's kind of how I look at this. Denver, there's the precision with which they play, the inability to think that you can affect Jokic in any way. That nobody can do it. And they're included in that. Their best chance is for Anthony Davis to have a huge series offensively, and they got to make a lot of threes. I mean, Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Hachimura, those guys have to make a lot of threes in this series to give them a chance. And I just think I just gave you a whole long list of things that have to happen. You add all that up, and it's unlikely that it all will. And Denver's just a better team with a player that what it's going to look like night in, night out. And that's why I think Denver is a heavy favorite. They should be a heavy favorite. I think the Lakers will be in these games. They might have one blowout, but I think they'll be in these games. But at the end of the day, there's just not enough to deal with this team.
So it sounds like this is the first series outside of the Boston one that you're picking that is more likely 4 or 5 than it is 6 or 7.
Yeah, this number, I don't know what the number is for like games, but if it's the Lakers 1.5 is the number for them for wins, that's a tough one. Because, like I said, I'm not going to be stunned if they won 2 games. I mean, you win a series 4-2. You controlled the series. Denver would still could have played great and win 4-2. But what's more likely? Probably 5.
There you go. DraftKings agrees with you. They have it at -140 that this is 5 or 4 games. The last one we have though is the Thunder and either the Pelicans or the Kings. At the time of recording, we don't know. This one is not like the Boston series where it's a laugher. Who cares? Pick 4, whatever. This one is more interesting to me. So do you feel like the Thunder, one, are going to win this? And how do you think it would go against those 2 teams?
It's going to be an interesting one. So the Kings, they're shorthanded. They lost 2 key guys, Herter and Monk. Yep. That's 30 points of offense they don't have, but they still have their 2 stars. Pelicans are down a star. And probably the most important one. So I look at both of those teams going up against the Thunder. I think the Kings would have a better chance of, assuming they get in, of giving the Thunder a longer series, a tougher series than New Orleans without Zion. And he's going to be out, the entire playoffs. Now he won't be available at all. And that going in. Ingram missed a lot of time. has not found his game yet. You're counting on him to flip that switch and be great to offset Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, like what they're bringing. There's a reason they're the 1 seed, man. It may be surprising to some people, but they were incredibly consistent all year. And now you've got teams with missing guys, key guys. And I think Sacramento, at least having their top 2 guys, would give them a better series.
Do you see it as being a long series for the Thunder? If it is the Sacramento Kings, which I agree with you, that's who I would pick.
I could see that being 6. I wouldn't.
Okay.
With the distance, I'd be shocked. Anybody, if one of those 2 teams took the Thunder to the 7th game in Oklahoma City, that would surprise me. But I'm going to give the Kings enough credit with those 2 players in particular. I'll give them 6. Keegan Murray, by the way, we forgot about him. Who knows? Maybe that's a breakthrough moment he had against the Warriors. Does he keep that up? If he keeps that up, you got a hell of a series on your hands if it's Oklahoma City and the Kings.
The Thunder have invested a lot into Keegan Murray. Just that they've given him they know how important of an X factor he is for their whole arc, not just this year, but what they're trying to build. So it would be great for him to have his breakout moment. That is all odds that you can find on DraftKings Sportsbook. Remember, sign up and use code ALLNBA. If you sign up for DraftKings, you can bet along with us, copy our bets, or make your own bets. Let us know in the comments if you disagree with us. And don't forget that we go live 4 times a week, all throughout the playoffs, all the way to the final game of the finals. We're going to be breaking down the great basketball that is ahead of us. We want you guys to join us in that 4 times a week. Hit that like button on the way out. We'll see you next time.